Hello and welcome to the Hallway Feeds warehouse, back where we store all of our completed products. We're going to talk a little bit about the different types of feeds that we have, from textured feeds to pelleted products, whether that be a small pellet or a larger pellet. We're going to talk about the pros of these, maybe why you wouldn't want to feed them in your situation, whether that be your management situation, the type of horse you have, or what you're trying to accomplish. So we're going to take a closer look at the three different types we manufacture, not necessarily the different products themselves, just the feed form and what it is and isn't good for. Let's start with a very traditional textured type mix. We used to say sweet feeds, but the connotation to that's not good. So we call it a textured feed because you can see the different ingredients that are in the feed. Now some people like it just for that reason. They can see the actual ingredients in it. When we look at it, we can tell that we have, in this particular product, we have oats, we have a little barley, we've got some corn, there's beet pulp in here, and of course our protein, vitamin, and mineral pellet, the small pellet. There's oil, there's molasses. You can see all of those ingredients inside the feed. Some people like it for that reason, but that's maybe not the best reason to choose a feed just because you like the way it looks. We need to consider the horses that you're feeding and what they're doing. Now, why would we like to feed a textured feed? Well, we might like it because we can get the most oil onto this type of product. If you try and put oil onto pelleted products, they can become soft, loose, maybe fall apart a little bit more on you. Maybe you have a supplement that you have to feed for a joint issue, a specific hoof problem, something special you're trying to accomplish. That's going to mix in really well to a textured type feed. So these are great in those situations where maybe you have a picky eater. They're very palatable. They're easy to get horses switched onto them, and if you're having to mix anything, it's a great way to go. Another great reason to feed a textured product is if you have more of a commercial operation where horses ship in and ship out. Textured feeds are generally easier to have in that situation. The horses will switch over to it easier to the feed that you're using in your farm, in your barn, your location, than maybe they would if you were using a pelleted product. They might not be used to it. So typically it's just easier if you're shipping horses in and out a lot to stick with a textured product. Very palatable again, easy to feed, easy to move the horses on and off of. So now let's look at the smaller pellet that we make here at Hallway Feeds. This is a 1/8 inch. You can get the idea of the size of it by my hands there. About the size of the lead in a number 2 pencil, smaller pellet. This is actually the size pellet that we put all of our proteins, vitamins, and minerals together in and put into our textured feeds. But this is a standalone product. This happens to be Equability. We also make Stam 30. Stam 30 being a protein, vitamin, and mineral supplement. Equability is actually a feed for your horses, not a supplement. Why would you choose a pellet or the larger pellet over a textured feed? Not going to freeze up in the wintertime. Doesn't draw the bugs, doesn't draw the rodents. Has a very stable shelf life, so we're not worried about how long necessarily it's sitting at the farm. Still need to use it in a reasonable period of time, but it's not going to dry out like a textured feed could do. So we have a small pellet, and then we're going to talk about the larger pellet, which we refer to as a cube. Now we're looking at the larger pellet that we manufacture here at Hallway Feeds. This is actually a 1/2 inch in diameter and a little bit bigger, you can tell, than the smaller pellet. We refer to this in-house as a cube, still truly a pelleted feed. So why would we choose a larger pellet, or the cube as we call it? Great for outside feeding scenarios. Anytime horses are picking it up, can move their head around and drop it, they can pick this back up without getting a mouthful of dirt or bedding, straw if it's inside, that sort of thing. Again, just like the smaller pellet, doesn't freeze up in the wintertime. It's not going to draw the rodents or the bugs nearly as bad as a textured product, and it stays nice and soft and easy to scoop all winter long if you're not keeping it in that warm feed room. Now, we can't put quite as much fat into here as we could the textured feed. We do make up to an 8% fat pelleted feed, and it holds up very well. Very useful for sales prepping. We'll talk about individual products at a later time. We've actually seen the majority of our broodmare farms are moving towards more of a pelleted product for their management situations and how well it keeps the horses. And for different scenarios, they could choose the smaller pellet or the texture, as we've covered what some of those are. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video about the different types of feeds we manufacture here at Hallway Feeds, whether it be a textured product, the small pellet, or the larger pellet. And I know we didn't get into all the nitty-gritty details, but I just wanted it to be a light, educational, here's some feed forms, and let's choose those. Later on, we'll get into individual products and the different feeds that we have that are textured, the different feeds that are pelleted, and talk about what you can use those different products for. But today was just about feed forms and choosing the right feed form for your horse and for your farm. If you got any questions, make sure you email us, info@hallwayfeeds.com, or give us a call. Check us on our website, www.hallwayfeeds.com. Thanks for your time today.